Imagine the United States in the 1970s. This was the era when the most luxurious, most expensive, and most flamboyant American cars were born. These street boats weighed more than 2 tons, wore chrome surfaces polished like mirrors, had velour interiors as thick as a sofa, and engines of 440, 472, or 500 cubic inch still roared as if defying the times. And today, we will explore, one by one, the 12 most expensive cars of the 1970s, the final symbols of a lavish era that will never return. 1975, Imperial LeBaron Crown. This was the final car to wear the Imperial badge before the legendary name faded into history. It was like the quiet, heavy sigh of an empire that once challenged Cadillac and Lincoln, yet was forced to leave the stage in silence. Just one look at it, and you understand why Imperial was once considered the most refined luxury car Chrysler ever built. Under the hood, the 440 cubic inch V8 growls like an old beast still full of power. It does not care about fuel crises, the EPA, or mileage numbers. It was born to move 5,300 pounds of steel and chrome as smoothly as if it were gliding across water. Stepping into the cabin feels like entering a mobile living room. Soft, loose pillow-top leather seats, carpet so thick it swallows your shoes, classy opera windows, and wood grain spread across everything from the doors to the dashboard. This was the era when if something could be powered electrically, Chrysler put a motor in it. The original price was $9,277, a figure that made many people stagger in 1975. But its rarity is what turned it into a legend. Only 1,641 two-door coupes were produced. 1978, Oldsmobile Toronado Brougham. This is not a car built to show off speed. This is a car built for you to loosen up and enjoy the sensation of floating on a long ribbon of silk across the American highway. The Toronado had already caused a stir back in 1966 when it became one of the first American cars to use front-wheel drive. But by 1978, this luxury coupe had matured into a true magic carpet ride. Just open the door, which is as heavy as a safe door and has accidentally turned many owners into gym members, and you step into a world of velour so thick it could swallow a dropped key, and faux wood trim crafted so finely you can barely tell what is real and what is not. Under the hood sits the 403 cubic inch V8, producing 190 horsepower. Not much, but enough for the Toronado to glide smoothly, unhurried, and quiet. It is the kind of car that makes you forget you are even driving, because it does everything so effortlessly. The original price was more than $10,000, a figure that made many people think twice. Yet Toronado buyers did not choose it for its value. They chose it for the experience, for the quiet, smooth, and luxurious feeling that few American cars of the time could deliver. 1976, Cadillac Eldorado convertible. Cadillac declared this would be the last convertible the company would ever build, a farewell that shook the entire nation and sent collectors into an immediate frenzy. Under the hood is the 500 cubic inch V8, the largest V8 engine ever installed in an American car. Even though emissions regulations had reduced it to about 190 horsepower, it still moved this heavy convertible land yacht down the highway with the ease of a quiet breeze. The Eldorado convertible is not powerful, but it is luxurious, smooth, and makes you feel as if you are sitting on a rolling throne of the 1970s. Step inside, and you understand why its price reached $11,049, a number that could buy a small house in the Midwest at the time. Leather seats as soft as a luxury sofa, fiber optic warning indicators, automatic climate control, power everything. This was Cadillac at the peak of its pleasant extravagance. Nearly 14,000 units were produced during the final year, slightly diluting its rarity, but that did not stop owners from wrapping them in nylon, covering them in garages, and treating them like vintage wine. And then a few years later, Cadillac brought convertibles back in 1984, leaving an entire generation of collectors both amused and bitter. 1977. Lincoln Versailles. In the late 1970s, as the downsizing trend spread across the industry, Lincoln faced a difficult question. How do you preserve traditional luxury in a smaller body? The answer was the 1977 Lincoln Versailles, a car many consider one of the boldest and also most controversial attempts in Lincoln's history. The Versailles was built on the platform of the Ford Granada and Mercury Monarch. But Lincoln did not want to admit that. They dressed it in a full tailored suit, a thickly padded vinyl roof, a Continental-inspired waterfall grille, wire wheel covers, and a formal roofline that was compact yet still carried that country club aura. From a distance, the Versailles looked upscale enough to convince many that it was simply a smaller Continental inside. Lincoln did everything possible to live up to its name. Soft leather seats, carpet so thick your feet sink in, wood grain covering the entire dashboard, and nearly every interior surface padded. If you touched something, chances were high it would be soft. The Versailles was also the first American car to feature clear coat paint, providing a shine and durability far beyond the standards of the era. Its high price, small size, and all too familiar platform led critics to mock it as a Granada in a tuxedo. 1977. Cadillac Fleetwood Brougham. In 1977, GM carried out the largest surgery in its history, downsizing the entire full-size lineup. That meant Cadillac's massive chrome land yachts had to shrink by nearly 1 foot in length and lose more than 800 pounds of weight. But when crisis became opportunity, Cadillac proved its finesse once again. And the 1977 Fleetwood Brougham was the clearest example of that. From a distance, you would hardly notice it had slimmed down, because even though it was smaller, the car still kept its luxurious presence with a formal roof, a long hood, and sharp, handcrafted-looking body lines. Cadillac cleverly made the car appear larger than it really was, through smart proportions and a generous amount of chrome. That did not decrease at all. Step inside, and the Fleetwood Brougham continued to display its royal character. Thick velour seats as soft as a high-end hotel sofa, plush carpet so deep your feet sink into it like a velvet cloud. The d'elegance package elevated the interior even further. Loose pillow-top seats, light-colored wood trim that evoked the feel of a baby grand piano, and a cabin so quiet you could hear the Cartier clock ticking. Even with reduced dimensions, the Cadillac essence did not diminish. The 1977 Fleetwood Brougham was proof that luxury is not defined by size, but by sensation. And the sensation Cadillac delivered at that time was still the American dream on 4 wheels. 1979. Lincoln Continental Town Car. This was the final year of the massive full-size platform before Lincoln was forced to downsize in 1980. Because of that, it was more than just a car. It was the closing chapter of the era when bigger meant prestige. At more than 233 inches long, the town car was longer than a New York studio apartment. Of the time driving, it felt like commanding a miniature yacht. Gentle, slow, and full of pride. On the highway, the car did not simply drive, it glided, as if the air itself stepped aside. Stepping into the cabin meant entering a level of luxury that was almost excessive. Deep pile carpeting as thick as a five-star hotel rug, twin comfort lounge seats, soft, deep, and plush enough that you could fall asleep without needing a bed. The lightly polished wood-grain dashboard, paired with the Cartier clock, made the town car a favorite among buyers who loved refinement, and it did not stop there. Chrome was everywhere, on the doors, on the grille, on the antenna, and even around the windows. On a sunny day, it shone so brightly that people had to squint. With a price of $12,100, the town car was not for everyone. But for those who wanted to own one last piece of classic luxury before the downsizing era began, 1979 was the irreplaceable choice. 1978 Cadillac Seville Elegante. This car was not just an upgraded version. It was Cadillac telling the world, luxury can be elevated into art. Compared to the standard Seville, the Elegante wore a distinctive two-tone finish, a refined combination of elegant colors separated by pinstripes as sharp as a painter's brushstroke. The body was outlined with slim but crisp brushed chrome moldings. One quick glance, and you would know this was a Cadillac meant for true upper-class buyers. Inside, the sense of luxury did not come from flashy details, but from refinement. The interior combined premium leather with soft woven fabric, resembling the handcrafted sofa sets of a haute couture furniture studio. Every stitch and every piece of wood trim reflected a level of meticulousness few American cars of the era could match. Under the hood, the Seville Elegante used the 350 V8 with electronic fuel injection, a major technological step forward compared to traditional carburetors. Even though it produced only about 170 horsepower, the engine ran with an almost unbelievable smoothness. Its price was nearly $17,500, equal to that of a high-end European luxury car. But for Elegante buyers, they were not purchasing a car. They were purchasing a lifestyle. 1978 Lincoln Continental, Mark V Diamond Jubilee. From the very first glance, the Diamond Jubilee makes it clear that it is unlike any other Lincoln. Only two color options existed: Diamond Blue or Jubilee Gold, both completely exclusive, paired with a thick vinyl roof and turbine wheels painted to match the body. Everything was coordinated so meticulously it bordered on obsession. Stepping inside was an experience of opulence on a monumental scale. Seats were upholstered in premium velour or buttery soft leather, depending on the owner's preference. The dashboard featured real walnut, not faux wood like many American cars of the era. Every button and every finished surface evoked the feeling of sitting in the cabin of a first-class airplane. With a price of $20,099, the Diamond Jubilee cost nearly twice as much as a standard Mark V, making it one of the most expensive American cars of 1978. Production was planned at 5,000 units, but demand pushed the total slightly above 5,100, proving that when luxury is executed correctly, there will always be people willing to pay for it. 1976 Stutz Blackhawk. This was not a car created for the masses. It was built to be seen, to be noticed, and most importantly, to let wealthy people prove they were richer than everyone else. The Stutz Blackhawk was constructed from the Pontiac Grand Prix platform, but the rebirth process was what turned it into a legend. Each Blackhawk required more than 1,500 hours of hand assembly in Italy. There, carrozzeria craftsmen created an entirely new body. A long pre-war style front end, a proudly upright grille, and chrome details that shined like a Las Vegas stage. But the interior was where the Blackhawk expressed its truest extravagance. Mink fur carpeting was optional. Gold-plated trim was standard. Connolly leather, the same leather used in Rolls-Royce, covered the entire cabin. The dashboard used real walnut, hand-polished like high-end furniture. There were even enough gauges on the panel to make a Boeing pilot raise an eyebrow. The original price reached $47,500, nearly 3 times the cost of a Cadillac Eldorado that same year. But that did not stop Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., and Evel Knievel from scrambling to own one. Elvis was famously known for wrecking his first Blackhawk and immediately buying another. 1979. Clenet Series the Roadster. Born at a time when Detroit was gradually losing its shine, Clenet chose a completely different path, returning to the beauty of the 1930s, but wrapping it in modern luxury that only the wealthy could afford. The Series Y Roadster was hand-built in California, on a sturdy Lincoln Continental chassis, paired with a Ford 351 cubic-inch V8, enough power to let this heavy roadster glide with the grace of an experienced old dancer. But power was not what made Clenet famous. It was the perfection of every tiny detail that captivated the wealthy. Step into the cabin, and every sense feels elevated. Connolly leather seats, soft and fragrant, like the interior of a Rolls-Royce. Thick, smooth, warm wool carpeting. Burled walnut on the dashboard hand, polished until it reflected light, like antique furniture sold in galleries. Nothing was improvised. Every element was chosen to create an atmosphere that felt aristocratic yet relaxed in a California way. With a starting price of $55,000, an astonishing figure in 1979, it became one of the most expensive American cars of the decade. Only 250 units were produced, mostly for Hollywood artists, ultra-wealthy entrepreneurs, and those who refused to drive anything that looked like what anyone else had. 1974. Cadillac Fleetwood Talisman. This was the Cadillac built for people who wanted to feel as if they were sitting in an executive office, even while driving down the road. The Talisman was not just a decorative trim package. It was a fully personalized Cadillac with an exclusive interior that even regular Eldorados or Fleetwood Broughams did not have. The front seats were split, divided by a Medici velour-wrapped center console, a fabric so luxurious that many mistook it for premium velvet. Inside this console were a pen compartment, a document tray, and storage space, all of which made the Talisman resemble a mobile office for the upper class of its era. The seats were the biggest highlight, Medici velour that was softer, thicker, warmer, and more luxurious than leather. Cadillac was confident enough to claim this material was as expensive as the upholstery used in Europe's finest seating. Deep plush carpeting like clouds, glossy wood grain, and a quiet atmosphere made the cabin feel like a VIP lounge in a luxury hotel. Under the hood was the 472 cubic-inch V8, powerful and smooth, with enough strength to move a car weighing more than 5,000 pounds while still feeling effortless. The original price was over $12,000, far above the typical luxury car price range in America at the time. 1970. Chrysler 300 Hurst. In the golden age of muscle cars, most high-performance machines carried a rebellious spirit, loud, aggressive, and unconcerned with refinement. But the 1970 Chrysler 300 Hurst entered the arena in a completely different way. Created through a collaboration between Chrysler and the famed Hurst performance, the 300 Hurst immediately claimed the position of the pinnacle of the 300 line. Its appearance looked unlike anything else on the road. An enormous fiberglass hood with a prominent scoop, a Hurst gold and satin white two-tone body, and factory-fitted rear spoiler wings that made the 224-inch long coupe look imposing, almost intimidating. Under the hood was the heart of a giant, the 440 cubic inch TNT V8, producing around 375 horsepower. This was enough power to earn respect even from pure muscle cars. But unlike them, the 300 Hurst was not just fast. It was fast with manners. The cabin featured premium leather upholstery, elegant wood grain on the dashboard, and a performance cluster gauge setup that made the driver feel like they were piloting a European GT only. About 485 units were produced, making it one of the rarest Chrysler models of the 1970s. If you have ever sat behind the wheel of a classic car, you understand that these machines carry more than just metal and engines. They carry memories and an entire era when Americans drove not just to get somewhere, but to express a way of life. And if these 12 luxurious cars of the 1970s reminded you of a certain moment, a certain V8 sound, or a car you once dreamed of, feel free to share it in the comments below. Every story you share helps bring these memories back to life. And if you want to continue exploring forgotten models and legends buried under the dust of time, do not forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. See you next time.